Hi everyone, welcome back. I know it's been a while. I'm back in my kitchen and it is nice and clean, and I am hopeful to start doing some more videos now that the holidays are over and I'm a little bit more settled in what I'm doing. So we're gonna start out that new trend of posting more often, hopefully, with a little bit of a different video. So this one is a seafood boil sauce, and it's not really my recipe. I'm going to take part of it and twist it and give it my own little flair. But it's based off of BLove sauce, her seasoning packet for seafood boils. So she is super famous on YouTube right now. Like, she's awesome. She's the queen. She's the sweetest person ever. And this is a sauce that she created for her videos. And everybody raves about it. Everybody that gets to try it says it's amazing. And so I finally got my hands on it. It was sold out on Amazon forever. Like, every time it would come up, it was gone within hours. So I finally got some. This is the spicy version, and we're just going to follow her directions, and then at the end I'm going to switch it up a little bit and have her version and my version. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, let's get started. So today we're going to be making only half of the packet, and so that means that we're going to start with 2 sticks of butter. But first off, I am going to be using gloves today because I do have some cuts on my fingers and I don't want spicy butter and seasoning to be getting into my cuts. That would not feel good. So just forgive the gloves. But let's go ahead and open our butter. This is unsalted butter. I use organic. As you know, I like to try to use organic when I can. BLove mentioned that she uses sweet cream normally. But it's just whatever you want. You could use margarine, you could use oil, you could use, it probably would be good with like coconut oil or olive oil as well. But let's just go ahead and we're going to get that on the stove and get it melting while we get the rest of our ingredients prepped. So the first thing we're going to need is one medium, well, it's actually for the whole packet, you need half of a medium sweet onion. Again, you really can use whatever you want. She just says that she normally uses the sweet onions, which I love myself as well. But a red onion would be really good in this too, or just a yellow onion, whatever you can get your hands on. I am going to go ahead and use almost an entire half of one just because I love onion, and so we are going to be thinly slicing this. So as always, keep the root tip together, and then we're going to cut off the other end to allow for easier peeling. So we'll just go ahead and peel off that first layer or two from the onion so that we can get rid of that skin. The gloves definitely proved a little bit of a challenge here, but on the bright side, my one hand didn't get sticky. You know how onion and garlic can kind of make your hands sticky after a while. Well, that one didn't. But it was kind of difficult to grip things like I'm used to. So I apologize, guys. My mic must have gotten disconnected whenever I was setting up the camera in this new direction, and I honestly cannot remember what I was chatting about here. But remember, when we slice onions, to keep your fingers curled. Well, really, when you slice anything, you don't want to cut your fingertips off, so keep them curled under. And we're just going to do our normal little thin slices. And you could really do them however you want. If you wanted to dice them, if you wanted them bigger and chunkier, it's up to you. So I really do enjoy watching BLove. She seems really super genuine on her channel. Doesn't talk about anybody, prays before each meal, very family oriented. I feel like she would defend her family to the ends of the earth, but if they did wrong, she'd tell them they did wrong. But that's just the impression I get from YouTube, so what do I know? But I'm really excited to try this sauce. I've heard lots of really good things. So again, the whole packet is supposed to use half of an onion, which is all of this, and I'm doing half a recipe. So you would normally do about a quarter of an onion. I'm probably going to do about, or a quarter of a half, so an eighth. I'm doing a little bit more than that. And I'm going to save the rest for another recipe that I have coming up. So just go ahead and throw those into the pot. The butter is starting to get melty. I'm going to set those aside. And now we'll get started on the garlic. So as you guys know, I love my garlic. Her recipe for the entire bag calls for 3/4 of a cup of garlic. I'm going to do about half a cup. It's literally all the garlic I have in my house, or else I'd be using more. I've been having a hard time getting good garlic lately. I keep getting these tiny little garlic heads and they just don't last me. So I'm going to be using a meat mallet today to smash all of these, just because I hate smashing and peeling garlic, and this really makes it easier, especially with the quantity I'm doing. And you could most certainly buy, from Costco, they have a bag of organic peeled garlic cloves, and you could definitely use those. It's a rather large bag. They do come in smaller portion packs that are sealed, but they don't keep the odor in, that's for sure. Your fridge will smell like garlic, and they don't last that long. So unless you have a recipe that's going to need a lot of garlic, I think you may waste it. I've used it for my honey garlic and some pickled garlic and things like that I've done when I've needed huge quantities, and it was amazing. And I'm just going to go ahead and give these a rough chop. I should have put a damp paper towel underneath my cutting board, but I didn't. And guys, I actually meant to say mince. We're mincing this garlic, not a rough chop. So try to get it pretty fine. If you wanted to, you could toss it into a little food saver, along with the next ingredient is pickled ginger. And you could just put both of them in there because they both need to be minced, and you could just, give it a few little zaps, and it'd be nice and minced up for you. But I didn't really think about it, and I like to cut things. Although I really need new knives. My knives are super dull, but one day. As I said before, the next step is pickled ginger. And unfortunately, my camera stopped recording while I did that and added the chicken broth. But this pickled ginger, it's just like the sushi ginger that you get when you go out to a Japanese restaurant. It's normally pink, which, as far as I read, it's only pink if you use refined white sugar with the ginger. And so if you use anything else, it's going to be white or kind of yellowish. And so that's what I used. I used an organic pickled ginger that is white because it doesn't use that refined sugar. And you use that along with all of the juice. The recipe for the full packet calls for 3/4 of a cup worth. She uses a whole jar. She uses like the larger one, and so that's about a cup. And I love pickled ginger, so I used the whole jar of this as well. And it was about half a cup. And you just pour the juice into the butter, and then you pour everything out and you mince it up really well. And that's all you need to do. If you don't want it minced up, you don't have to. It's just apparently that helps distribute the flavor better. And then you're only supposed to need about a half a cup of broth, but I think I'm going to need more because I've been putting so many extra vegetables. So as you can see, this is with the half a cup of broth, and it is pretty chunky, but it looks and smells really, really good. But I do think that I'll probably be adding the rest of the broth just because we haven't even added the seasonings in yet, and that's going to make it pretty thick and pasty. And when it comes to the broth, you could use water, you could use vegetable stock, beef stock, fish stock, just some kind of liquid to kind of help thin it out. Something that's either flavorful or kind of neutral, but not like overpowering. Like you don't want to use lemon, like a whole cup of lemon juice or something like that. But I'm going to let these caramelize for a little bit more, and then we're going to come back and add the rest of our ingredients. So now that this is caramelized some more, you can see it's a little bit browner. It looks beautiful. Everything's cooked nicely. Let's add in our seasoning. So this is half a bag, which was, I believe, 128 ounces or grams. I can't remember. But we're just going to go ahead and mix this all up, get it incorporated. You can see how thick it's getting. So it was already chunky, and now it's just kind of thick. So let's just get this nice and incorporated, and we'll see what we want to do about adding more liquid. You can see it's definitely looking better. It's mixing in really well, but I do think that I want to add the rest of the broth just to thin it out a little bit. I don't need it to be that heavy with the seasoning and that heavy with the butter. And so just went ahead and added the rest of that in, and we'll finish mixing it up, and then we can move on to our final steps. So our next step is adding balsamic vinegar. So you don't need much of this, and again, you could substitute another kind of vinegar if you needed to. The whole packet calls for 1 tablespoon, and I'm going to use about 3/4 of a tablespoon. I really love balsamic vinegar, and I love vinegar, and I love that bite. I was really considering putting some lemon juice in here for an extra bit of like freshness, some zing, some bite, some tanginess in my mouth. But I really wanted to keep it pretty pure to her recipe, and then I'll start messing with it down the line. You know, because everyone has their own taste, and that's the beauty of this, is that you can really take the base and customize it. So we've got that nice and mixed in. And the only thing that we have left is to make our few different versions. So at this point, this is going to be what I call her original sauce. This is the base. This is pretty close to what she used to have as a recipe online. Obviously she had to change it when she started marketing and selling this, because you can't sell something that you already have given away. She added Coke as a new ingredient, and so that will be her version. And then my version is going to be with ginger beer instead. And I love Reed's Strongest ginger beer, or Stronger ginger beer. It's got a really good heat, a good kick of ginger, and it's not overly sweet. And so I'm going to split this sauce into 3 containers. I'm going to put half into one, and that's going to be her original sauce. We're just going to leave it as is. And then I'll split the remaining half into 2 containers. And I'll add 1 ounce of Coke to one, and 1 ounce of ginger beer to the other. And we're gonna let this sit overnight and just really meld and marinate together. And we will make ourselves a seafood boil tomorrow to try them all out. So I'm super excited, and I'm just gonna let this cool, get it split up, get the final ingredients put in, and I will see you tomorrow for the seafood boil and the taste testing. Thanks, guys. I hope you've had a really good time watching this, and go check her out. BLoveslife is her name, and I'll put a link below in the description to her channel. She's really cool. Now, she's a mukbang channel. She started out as a cooking channel, but now she's a mukbang channel, which means that she just eats and talks. So if you don't like to hear people eat, you don't like to watch people eat, you may not like it. I just enjoy her personality,